Hello and welcome back to the Moment of Truth podcast. I am so excited to welcome you back for episode 2. This is the show where I invite you to take a moment to reflect and be proud of how far we've come as individuals, but also how far we have to go as a community. And I am very honored to say that on this episode, you will get to hear the conversation between me and the amazing, illustriously talented Chiquitita. And sitting down and getting to have this conversation was something that was really amazing for me because I've seen her work for so long. I've seen her work since I was in college. And she has been doing and creating so much art and community that I really found it a beautiful discussion when we got to sit down and talk. So I'm very excited for you all to hear the conversation that we had. But before we get into the interview and I tell you what my rose and thorn is this week, I think it is very important that we all begin with an opening affirmation to just reaffirm the positive, loving energy that is going to be filling this podcast for the next, let's be real, hour. I was going to say minutes and I was like, let's just be real, let's round it up an hour. So, we are filling this podcast over the next hour with positivity and love while you listen and you take in some wisdom. So, let's breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth. And repeat after me. I'm deserving of every single beautiful thing in my life. I am proud of how far I have come in my life's journey and excited about the journey that is to come. Because everything I touch is blessed, and I am blessed by everything that touches me. I deserve happiness, I deserve love, and the world and my community is deserving of my love and wisdom. Now, I know personally I feel so much better after doing that. If there's one thing that I've learned in this life, it's even if you don't feel good, if you repeat that you do enough times, even incrementally, even in the smallest amounts, you will feel a tiny bit better because it all begins internally, all the things that we begin to feel and manifest. And so once we begin to put that energy out into the universe and out into the world and begin to actually vocalize all of the things that we want for ourselves, that's when we truly begin to make a change because we have to make the change in ourselves internally, and then that will outwardly begin to manifest itself in our behaviors. Or at least that's what I believe. And it's worked for me in terms of overcoming shit. And I've overcome enough shit in this world to know. Now, the final housekeeping thing that I need to do before I get into the roses and thorns is to let you know that as this podcast begins to come together more and more, I'm going to be trying out new music elements, trying out new segments, and just let a hoe know what you like, what you don't like, what you want to hear more about. And as well, in this coming week, I'm going to be posting on my Instagram story just basically an open-ended, what would you like to see, any segments you'd like to hear, any topics you want me to cover in my story, so that way I can get all of your feedback, because I want to make sure that I create a podcast that not only reflects what I want to give but also what you all want to see. So just let a hoe know. Now on to my rose and my thorn. Now, I actually kind of have multiple this week. One is like a tangible thing, and then like the other one is like an existential thing, and it's all mainly because we have just been really processing and opening myself up to more and more pieces of myself and processing them. And so the first is that I just got my ears pierced, which was fucking amazing, and I'm so happy I did it because just seeing these two little diamonds in my ears, I'm like, bitch, even though of course we know these are not real because a bitch has what? Student loan debt, okay? So they are just cute little diamond studs with gold around them for now, for like the next 3 weeks, and then I can switch them out, and I'm just so fucking excited because it's just one of those, again, those euphoric moments of gender where I'm like, yes, bitch, I look sickening, bitch. I love these. And as well, on top of it, the moment I left out, immediately, of course, that's when somebody immediately genders me properly. And I'm like, look at God, look at the universe, look at everything shining down on me right after this moment. The trans gods are smiling. But as well, the second rose that I have is the fact that I've been creating art and just finding new things to create for actual fun and just enjoyment. And it's like one of those things where me coming out of my depressive hole and actually like beginning to deal with life again and being able to deal with life again, I'm actually at a point now where I begin to rediscover parts of myself that I hadn't realized I'd begun to let go of because of depression. And so I'm just like finally getting back into that space where I'm discovering and enjoying myself again and loving being with myself again and not just being so self deprecating when I am by myself. And so it has been so nice to be able to look in the mirror and be like, yes, bitch, you look sickening, even though my body has not changed for the past 6 months after I put on my quarantine weight, which I'm like, I'm looking healthy. I'm looking thick with two C's, and I like it that way. And so it has been such a beautiful moment of getting to really come out of my depressive hole, and I'm so happy. I'm just so, honestly, that I just added another rose now. I'm so fucking happy at the fact that I gave myself the time to process my depression and deal with my depression in my own time. And in in terms of working and creating things, I'm so thankful for my community for being there and supporting my Patreon and being there to support my family with the GoFundMe and with everything I've needed, because it has allowed me time to actually do something that I usually never have the time to do, which is just literally think about my mental health. And so it has allowed me to actually truly ride through this depressive episode, and I'm so thankful for the way that I've handled it and for the care and consideration that I've treated myself to, because so oftentimes I don't treat myself to it. And so, yes, this is one of those moments where I'm patting myself on the back, and I've been just repeatedly saying out loud, just consistently, like, and this is how I'm going to treat it when depression comes back again. And this is how I'm going to treat it if it comes back again, because I'm just reminding myself that this is the most healthy riding of the wave of depression I've ever done. And yeah, I'm just proud of my growth. I'm proud of me taking care of myself. I'm proud of me taking care of myself for the first time, and not doing it because of a loved one who cares for me or doing it for my community. I was taking care of myself for me for the first time because I was like, Junior, I like you enough that you motherfucking deserve this. And so I'm just, yeah, I'm so thankful. So fucking thankful. And also so proud of myself for, yeah, for getting to this point and for being brave enough to get to this point, because it hasn't been easy. So, yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful bundle of roses. And yeah, ooh, maybe I'll buy myself some flowers later. I deserve flowers. Saying roses and thorns got me thinking I deserve flowers. Yes, the fuck I do. But onto my thorn. It is, honestly, there's a lot of things you can always pick out about life that's like not the way you want it to be, not the way it should be, not the way you would have it be. But if I had to pick out a thorn, it is, I would have to say there's two. One is something that happened literally 10 minutes before I sat down to record this, which is there was a huge motherfucking daddy long leg that, okay, so we were friends. Me and this daddy long leg became friends because it liked to just park it in a corner. Luckily, my ceilings are high enough where they're not close to me. And I Googled it, and daddy long legs, their mouths aren't even big enough to bite me. I'm like, okay, so if you can't even bite me or do nothing, then like, okay, you're part of this ecosystem. I don't need to kill you. I'm trying not to kill nothing, you know. I just want to let life be. And so it was in the corner of my room. And then I was like, okay, you could stay there. Then it moved into my closet. And I was like, you getting a little bit too close for comfort. But it picked a high enough corner out the way. So I was like, Okay, you just catching whatever is up in here in this corner. Okay, I guess. Then the bitch today decides to land and come like less than 6 feet away from my computer and desk station. And I was like, this bitch doesn't even follow Corona social distancing in my own space. And so that was the moment where I was like, okay, bitch, you're not even like sitting still. Your legs are moving. I'm scared. I literally had to boss up and I had to really put on my Beyonce girl panties because I was like, this bitch is big. I know it can't bite me. I know it's going to run. I know I weigh over 160 pounds. So I'm like, this bitch is scared of me more than I'm scared of it. But right now, anxiety is telling me differently. So I had to beat it to death with a wrapping paper like empty roll because I just finished wrapping some gifts and I am traumatized to it. That's part of where the affirmations from earlier on came from because I was like, I just need to remind myself that I'm not horrible for having to do this. It was literally way too, it was the type of thing where like, you just don't want any animal that's not your pet that close to you, period. It's just like, what are you doing in my bubble? So that is the first thorn simply because I don't like killing anything that's living unless it's a roach. Roaches, I'm like, hold up, wait a minute, this is no. But when it comes to spiders, I'm like, oh my God, you just trying to fend for yourself. You just out here living your best life. I'm sorry. So that's number one. And let's pour some out for our homie, the spider. I named the spider Roger mainly because I wanted it to go home, but to its own home and not my home. But yeah, that's the first one. Pour some out for Roger. My second thorn is going to be one that I think a lot of people will probably have down as a thorn for themselves as well. And that is the fact that the vaccine is going to actually cost motherfucking money. In a global pandemic, you still will need to have to find a way to pay for a vaccine in a global pandemic. I was literally motherfucking watching the news, and the news person is going to say that, oh, the government got and haggled the price down to like whatever the cost is of like 30 something dollars. And I was like, so you think that you have to suspend evictions, literally try to pawn off $600, which does fucking nothing when you've already given us $1,200 and we deserve $5,000 a month. Let's be real. People say 2,000, we deserve $5,000 just for the oppression. And black trans people need to be getting at least 6 figures a month for the oppression and the history of oppression that we have gone through. But that's a different soapbox and a different day. Back to my original soapbox. So the fact that this vaccine costs money, when they have had to suspend evictions, they have had to do so many different efforts to just keep our heads above water, but not actually give us anything that we can actually use to thrive or to actually build our lives back. Because at the end of the day, no matter how many eviction moratoriums they do, until they actually wipe out the debt that everyone has accrued, because no government that we pay taxes to has actually helped us out, the only help that any black trans person I know has actually ever motherfucking had help from was black trans people. And I need everyone to truly look back at the history of this country. Just look back at the 2008 debt crisis where the only bailouts went to businesses. No person who actually lost their home due to the faulty lending practices actually got any form of help or money from it. They just paid off the bank so that way the stock market would be fine. But were people actually fine? Were the black people who lost their homes actually fine? No, they were not. Did they get any assistance from their government? No, they did not. And my favorite quote in the world, my favorite quote is from a George C. Wolfe play, The Colored Museum, where the quote goes, "The only reason the Great Depression was as bad as it was is because white people had finally started living the way that black people had always been living." Literally, this is nothing new. The fact that there's a vaccine this quickly created and able to be safely used is a testament to the fact that when a society or a government cares enough about a situation, they will find a solution to it in a speedy enough time. And if they had cared enough about queer people in the 80s and 90s to put this much attention to medicine, So many illnesses that affect so many disenfranchised communities could probably already have vaccines and cures having already been created if they had cared enough to put the money and the attention to actually helping the Black trans community and every other marginalized community that suffers under American oppression. So that is my other thorn. So long story short, if you believe that healthcare is a human right, the vaccine should be free, not affordable. And now that I have officially stepped off of that soapbox, I can now begin to introduce the amazing guest for this episode of Moment of Truth, the illustrious and beautifully talented, the icon, Chiquitita. I am so beyond honored and excited to have you be a guest on this podcast because an icon knows how to do more than one thing at a time. And you are getting in a fully balanced breakfast right now in your Tribeca home. How are you doing? How's your day been? How's your week been?
The week has been good. It's finally a week since I've moved out of Brooklyn.
How does it feel?
It feels really good. It's just like starting to settle, like, okay, cool, like new life, like, but the thing that does suck, the weather has been awful the entire week.
I think Brooklyn is crying that like you have left.
I think so too, but you're just gonna have to get over it. Like, I'm just a train stop away, you know? Like, it's not
just
that
a
far.
hop over the river, just a little scooch.
Yeah, just like take the J, pass Hughes, pass all the stops, Marcy, and then
Oh my!
you know.
You're in the same neighborhood as Beyonce. Do you know that?
Does Beyonce live in Tribeca?
Yes, Beyonce's home is in like when she was in New York, it's in Tribeca. And
Wait,
so,
I'm gonna show you Mariah Carey's apartment.
oh my god! 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 Wait! Oh my god! Oh my
I don't know
god!
if I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Hold on. Where is it?
Okay. Wait. See,
wait, where is it? It's behind
I'm not
this
even.
gray building. Oh, it's back there. Yeah, do you see that
Wait, I need a tissue.
in the distance?
I'm like,
Oh my
I'm
God,
not
yeah, 'cause
joking
you've
when I
been
tell
like
you.
dying about Mariah Carey.
Mariah Carey is my queen.
Wait, where is
I,
it?
oh
It's
my
like
god!
all the way back there. It's like right behind that gray building.
We stand her in every capacity, and oh my god,
Okay.
that's the
She's right
penthouse that
there.
she
She's
talks
like,
about in.
yep, she's like all the way up there.
When I tell you, just like Mariah means like everything to me. Mariah
I
is the person.
I didn't even know that about you until like 2 nights ago when you're like tweeting obsessively about Mariah Carey. You're asking the public, what is your favorite Mariah Carey song? And everyone has an answer, obviously. So
Literally the highest charting like woman artist of all time. When you
mhm.
look at her discography, it's even wilder because like it literally is like lyrics, music, completely lyrics is just Mariah Carey. Like Mariah Carey writes all of her
Always.
every single one except for one of her number one hit singles, which is 20 of them, have been written by her.
Which one?
The only one is a cover that she did for MTV Unplugged of "I'll Be There" from like the Jackson 5. And literally I'm
Right.
like, only that much of a boss bitch can have an MTV Unplugged single go to number 1.
Right.
Iconic. Iconic.
It's
Iconic.
amazing. I've been like researching, well, you know, just because I've been very interested in like vocal training, just like in general. And so
Yes.
that somehow led me into the realm of like octaves and like opera
Mhm.
singers and like Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, like,
Yes.
and it's so interesting hearing Mariah's voice kind of change through the years. But also,
Mhm.
I was watching this video and they mentioned that when she was pregnant, she like sang better again, which I was
Yes.
like, I didn't even think about the
Mhm.
impact that pregnancy can have on your voice. Which is, I'm like, I need to get pregnant.
Like honestly, nut inside, like nut in me. Like
Yeah,
I am ready for a uterus. Like
yeah.
I cannot wait until medicine is at that point.
I'm ready for a uterus. I know, I
Like,
know. I'll be the first. I'll
oh,
be the Danish girl, but I'll be the Brooklyn girl.
oh my. See, I would buy the merch for that film. I would buy the poster.
The Brooklyn girl.
Yeah, and like right
Perfect.
now, this is the opening scene right now. This is the opening scene to the Brooklyn Girl. It's like
This,
the Brooklyn Girl just moved to Tribeca.
right.
Have you seen Emily in Paris?
I haven't seen Emily in Paris, but everybody has been talking about it. Also, I look so pale right now. I just like realized that I look just like this, which is crazy.
Literally, it's that blue light. It's that
Right.
blue
I'm
light.
like, what is going on?
You do not put
It's
blue light
fine.
on brown girls.
It's fine. It's
Beyonce
fine.
said it. Beyonce said it.
Maybe if I step back.
Ooh. Get the distance. That's why you'll literally notice all of the lights in my room are like orange or like warm tone. Because I was like, I gotta work with
Warm.
my
Yeah.
undertones. Even when I'm
For
sitting here
real.
on webcam, I still like feel touched by golden light, and I'm like, okay, I'll take it. I'll take it if God is giving it. Mm. Now, do you have a favorite Mariah Carey song? Yes.
Honestly, I saw Wes comment last night, "All I Want for Christmas," but like actually, like for real, like "All I Want for Christmas" because it comes every year. You know it's coming every year, and this year
Oh,
also I read something about like all of the pop girls are like trying to get out their Christmas albums / tracks out now because they know that they won't chart, you know, and it's true.
and did you see the photo Mariah released of like she's doing some like Christmas single, and it was a photo from her set, and there were three chairs lined up, and
I
it was
saw
like,
that.
oh my god! So it's literally like
AG and
and JH. I was like, the amount of belting that is going to occur on this song, like Jennifer Hudson, Ariana Grande, and Mariah Carey. I'm ready. She owns Christmas. She
unless it's
owns it.
Jennifer Love Hewitt, in which case we might not
Oh my god, a
get
poltergeist.
a
We're
lot of
going to Ghost.
belting.
We're doing
Yeah,
Ghost.
we're
Oh
doing
my god.
that. We're doing that.
I will say, Jennifer Love Hewitt was that woman who was always on CBS with that Ghost show, and I always wanted her boobs.
I
Like
never
I
saw
literally,
it.
oh my god, it was so literally it was the most heteronormative Ghost show ever because it's basically her running around in tank tops with her big boobs, like scared of ghosts. That's literally it. I'm in my car and I feel some spirits. Oh my god, squeeze the titties.
I kind of want to
it's like
watch that now.
it's sickening. It's sickening because I wanted to be her. I was like, she just gets to really just like talk to hot ass ghosts and have big boobs. That seems like a fun life.
What a
Like
life.
honestly, could you imagine being the person who met Casper the Friendly Ghost like the first time? Like, I wonder what that was like.
Very spiritual.
Literally, this is amazing. When I first thought about sitting down and talking with you, something that immediately just like, I was like, what would I want to ask her about? And I realized I was like, well, I honestly don't even know her story. Like, you know, like you're a person who deserves a whole Wikipedia page about you because you've done so much, you've accomplished so much, and you've impacted the community in enormous ways. And I don't even think you're 24. Like,
I'm 22.
see, literally, like that's amazing, and like you deserve a fucking Wikipedia page where people get to actually know about like what came into becoming Chiquitita.
Right.
What does baby Chiquitita look like in terms of like baby drag, but also like you growing up? So let's dig in and let's begin with where did Chiquitita begin? And you can take that from drag, from your life, wherever you want to take it.
Okay, let me see. Where should we start? Because I feel like I've talked. Okay, so I have my own podcast shows, BK, if anybody wants to check it out.
Oh my God, yes, plug. You better plug.
Plug. Also, we haven't been posting that much. It's me and Baby Love. We haven't been posting that much, but we really want to get back into it, like really soon. But anyway.
Please. You have a follower in me. Oh my God.
But like all we do is like talk about like life and like
Yes.
the experiences that like drag performers in Brooklyn. We bring them in and have them tell their stories. So I started doing drag. I dropped out of high school when I was I think 16 to start doing
Where'd you go to
drag.
high school? In
I
New
went to
York.
high school in New York. Yeah, I was born and raised in New York, in Queens. So I went from high school to high school. I realized that like I literally went to 4 high schools, girl. Like it was a mess. It was awful.
Really?
Yeah, I remember I got kicked out of the Harvey Milk High School on Astor Place, because they were
What?
like, I was there for 2 weeks and they were like, oh, I'm sorry, but like the kids are saying that you're really mean and you don't want to get along with them. And I was like, I'm here to like go to school. Like, I'm not here to make friends, you know? I was like,
Literally.
maybe. I'm like, baby, I got friends. I don't need to. I got friends. I'm good.
You're my coworkers. You were literally my coworkers.
No, but yeah, I was like, you know what, like whatever. That was kind of when I was like, okay, I don't know like what to do anymore because
Mm-hmm.
I'm like trying to, and, you know, as a 16-year-old, you think you've got it all in the bag, but I'm like, I'm trying to like
Yeah.
figure my shit out, and like I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after I discovered drag online, and I started um practicing looks at home, and the first time that I went
Mm-hmm.
out was Halloween of 20, oh God, what year was that? 20, I want to say 14.
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's been six
Whoa.
years. I know. It's crazy, but
Damn, you better work.
I know it's insane.
Wow. And was this like sneaking out of the house after like you put on the looks or
Yeah,
oh
no,
yeah, cuz
definitely.
I was going to say that I remember the first times that I like started to get into like anything queer was out like the moment I went to college because
Mm.
it was the first time where like I knew I could be away from my family and like I could fully express myself. Like the queerest I felt like I could go was like by doing theater and being like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing theater." So like
It's
this was the
close,
outlet.
but it's like it's also like, well, it's a school, you know, like thing, so it's not gay, you
E-
know. It's like fine, it's a part of the school program, you know. So you get it's
exactly.
leeway. It's a leeway for a lot of queer
Exactly.
kids, I think, for sure. But yeah, I kind of, sort of, I guess it was like that. I mean, the first time that I got in drag, it actually wasn't Halloween. It was the month before, in September. So September is like
Mm.
my drag birthday. Um,
Yes, a
and I was getting
Virgo.
ready, Virgo, and I was getting ready in my friend's apartment, and her mom was totally cool with me doing drag. She was like, "I get it. Like, she's a faggot. Like, let her do her thing. Whatever. I don't care."
Yes.
She was very sweet. And so we went out. Whatever. I was like in full like very cross dresser. I was wearing like
Mhm.
this black short fur and this
Yes.
like pink top bra or something like that.
Oh
My hair
yes.
was like maybe up to here, like this up to
Mhm.
here, and I had like this like black rimmed like witch hat sort of,
Oh
and like
yes.
a pink tutu and like these like black like uh fishnet. Like it's because this is when American Horror Story Coven was on TV, so I was like, I want to be a witch all the time.
Oh, cultural reset. Cultural reset.
I know, like actually. And so that was the first time. The second time was on Halloween, and then I didn't get back into drag until about like April of 2015, which
Wow.
is where I met Aja at this
Wow.
bar. I know. I met her. This was before Drag Race.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. I literally never stepped foot into a bar until I was 21. I was like that kid who was just I was just too scared to do anything. I was scared to like make people mad. I was scared to like break the rules. I was scared. I was just like even though like even if you got a
Right.
fake or something and went to a bar, they just take it. I'm like I don't know what can happen. I could show up and then the next thing you know, they're like, "Oh no, you're going to jail." I was just anxiety out the wazoo. Where did that courage come from and that strength? Because at how old were you when this happened? When like you first stepped out?
Um, when I first stepped out, I think this was before my 17th birthday because it was in April. I think it was before because 2015, I was born in 98. So I think it was before I turned 17.
Amazing.
I feel like that makes sense. Yeah. And I think honestly, like it just came, I've never had that confidence, like as a child. I'm sure like you are familiar with not having
Oh
that
yes.
confidence as a child because we're like, we feel like everything that we do is wrong because we're told that we're like too gay, we walk too funny, we talk too funny,
Yep.
we look too funny, all those things. And so you're forced to be like, okay, cool. So I'm gonna try and be as conservative as I can, call no attention to myself.
Yes.
Um, so I've always had that. But when I was in high school, I started dipping my toes into a lot of different drugs and experimenting with a lot of different
Mm-hmm.
drugs. Specifically psychedelics. I was doing a lot of right before I started doing drag, which really helped boost my confidence
Mm-hmm.
and my
Oh yeah.
creativity and my mind. I just felt a lot more open after that. So that kind of confidence I carried with me for a while, and I still do. But for that age, to be like, I'm going to do this, and it's actually really interesting because I was talking to someone. This is gonna hard flex, but I was talking to Laverne Cox.
Oh, that's the
hard
hardest
flex,
flex.
hardest flex, hardest flex. But I was talking to her, and I was like, yeah, like, you know, because I was a very feminine child in high school. Like, I was wearing leggings, tight clothes, like long hair, like that handbag as my fucking school bag, like hoops, the whole regalia, every day. And I never thought about transphobia because I didn't know that that's what it was at the time. I just thought I was very gay. I never thought about being hate crime because I'm like, well, I'm a child. Like, who's gonna actually attack me? Like, that's ridiculous. Right. And then now, fast forward to all of the years of hearing about the trauma that our family goes through, it really puts you on guard, sets like fear in your heart to walk out of the door sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
I never had that. I never had to worry about those things. I never had to worry about walking around at night looking the way that I did. And now, fast forward to me being 6 years older, and it's something that I think about all the time. And it's crazy that me 6 years ago was not even thinking about that shit. And now it's like, you know, so in a way, like, me as a 16-year-old was a lot more confident than me in where I'm at right now. Like, icon Booth. I was like, that girl knew what she was doing for sure. But
Yes. I love everything
yeah.
that you just said because it one is something that I really personally relate to because I I grew up in a household where like my parents met through a drug deal.
Yeah.
Like my dad was selling and my mom was buying, and like my mom was trying to get around her local drug dealer to get to the bigger drug dealer to buy larger amounts. So it was like growing up there was weed smoking. They like I never saw them do anything else, but like there was other things happening. And for me, I literally was like so terrified of like upsetting anybody or as well like doing anything like bad. So I didn't get into anything until college. And it was one of those things where like I kind of went wild in college because of it. And no matter what, like I feel like a queer person's journey is or a trans person's journey is, it usually involves in some capacity drugs. And just kudos to both of us for for making it through that period in our lives, which was like really beautiful, but also in my personal like life dangerous. And I'm just find myself being more and more thankful
Yeah.
for the like level out like more mundane struggles that I
Yeah.
have now because I'm not doing like drugs consistently. Where I'm like, oh, I am like, this is the new version of Junior, and this is Junior evolved into who she's going to keep growing into, who she's going to keep aspiring to be. And that brings me to what was your experience like as a person in the drag scene at like the ages of 16, 17, and 18 as a trans woman who like whether or not she identified as that yet or whether that was a really funny
I just
moment.
like spilled water. I just like spilled water.
That was really
Sorry.
adorable. How was it as like a 16 and 17 and 18-year-old in bars and in clubs as a trans woman, whether you had the language for how you identified or not, just like taking up space in these locations, and as well honestly like shining, like of course like shining way brighter than any of the cis people or anyone else, because honestly like you by taking up your space has opened the doors up for me to be able to take up space, like,
Right.
and
Yeah.
so what was that like for you at that time, because I was I was in a college in like a very privileged space.
So I said, I like met Aja, and she was somebody that like graciously put me under her wing, either as a project or as an act of love or both or neither. I don't know.
Oh.
She was very sweet to me, and she helped me a lot with just feeling like I had a place, sort of, because again, as I'm sure you're familiar with, we don't feel that a lot.
Yes.
And so being in those spaces like TNT or like I honestly like Don Pedro's or any of those spaces that like no longer are here or that are still here but we no longer really visit because
Mm-hmm.
we can't of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Being in those spaces at that age, it wasn't necessarily like a culture shock for me because I remember like my brother being like, listen, like you need to be very careful, like these these places are like really dangerous and whatever, like drugs, whatever. I was like, baby, I've I've been there. Like you don't need to worry about me. Like I'm fine.
Literally got the
Um,
T-shirt.
I'm like I'm okay. Like I did the drugs. I just being in those spaces. I was like, oh, I already did that. Like now I'm here
Mm-hmm.
to like grow as a person, as a drag performer, and learn
Mm-hmm.
and take in knowledge that I'm picking
Mm-hmm.
up. So that was basically it. I kind of like already at that age because of like sex work, because of the drugs, because of my experiences, I already fast forwarded my consciousness and my growth as a person.
And that's what I was gonna say. Is very
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes as like trans women, especially as trans women of color, like I know that I've had to grow up tenfold in the span of like years
Yeah.
simply just
Mm-hmm.
because of the fact that like I have so many different things that I am cognitively aware of and so many different traumas that I'm like I completely understand exactly where you're coming from.
Exactly. And I've found like in recent year. Yeah, I don't know. It's just crazy. I've
Mm-hmm.
had to fast forward myself and I guess it was also like a form of like masking the fact that I was 16. So I would paint really harsh. I would
Mm-hmm.
do like really big eyeliner, huge lashes, like big everything, like contour crazy up the ass wazoo
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't want anyone to clock that I was such a child.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone knew that I was young, but I never specifically told a lot of people that I was 16, 17 because I didn't want to not be in these spaces. I wanted to work, I wanted to like
Yeah.
be a part of something.
Mm-hmm. Your
And then it
community.
got to that. Yeah, exactly. And then somewhere between like 18, 19, people started to realize that I wasn't letting go. And I was like, I'm
Yes.
staying here, girl. Like
I'm here.
I'm here, honey. Like deal with it. And I
Yes.
think somewhere between like joining the cast of Oops and winning a semifinal in Miss BK, people started to recognize that I maybe am someone to keep an eye out for,
Mm-hmm.
and ever since then, I think I've tried my best to let people know where my heart is at and what kind of person I am, because that for me is first and foremost in any occasion. You don't want anyone to get the wrong impression of you,
Mm-hmm.
or you just don't want to. You never know who you're talking to. You don't want to be a bitch to anyone. You shouldn't unless they try it. But
Facts.
that's very rare,
Yep.
girl, these days.
Truly,
Yeah,
truly. If they
yeah.
come a looking, they will find. You can't poke the bear and then be surprised that the bear is mad. You said that you have a brother. How many siblings do you have?
I have one brother that actually just had a baby, so
Oh my god, you're a Tia.
I'm a Tia, baby. I'm a Tia.
Oh my oh my
Yeah,
god. That child is
I
so blessed to have
know.
you in their
Uh,
life.
so blessed, so blessed. But she lives in Virginia, so
Oh my
it's gonna be
god.
very rare visits.
Oh
I
my
know,
god.
but
Family my family's in DC, so I'm like, I feel you.
yeah.
I feel
But I have one brother from both my mother and father. From my mother's side, I have an older brother and an older sister who I also have a niece from, and my niece is 16 now, so
wow.
or 17. I think she's 17.
Oh,
Um,
oh my God!
I
Pretty soon
know.
she's gonna get into the bars to come see you.
I know. She's actually moving because they live in Florida. She's actually going to be moving to New York when she graduates
Oh,
high school
then,
this year.
then she'll be in there immediately.
I know.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and then I have like some younger siblings for my dad, but my dad, he be trotting around, so
Mm,
it's like,
mood, mood,
you know.
mood. Wow.
But I do have a younger sister, Amelia, who lives in Jersey, and I've like been getting closer with.
Mm-hmm.
So Yeah,
Wow.
it's been nice.
I'm
Hmm.
I'm the youngest of three, and I have two older brothers. And I always feel like I would have definitely had figured out the language for my transness way earlier if I had been given a sister, mainly because it was like I just had no youthful feminine energy
Hmm.
around me. And I wonder what role did you being like, well, I'm not sure where in the birth order you are in terms of like number, but whatever your position was, how did that influence you growing up and you becoming who you are?
So growing up, I was like the baby in the house up until about like 9 or 10,
Mm-hmm.
because my parents started splitting up when I was around 7, and then that's when my dad had another child around when I was 10.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, growing up, I was like I feel like my siblings for a very long time resented me because I got everything. I got all the attention because I was the baby. I got
Mm-hmm.
all the love. I got all the gifts. I got all the praise. Everything.
Mood.
But I was like, I'm a Leo. Hi. But that was I remember a bit of that, and then like I feel like the memories that you hold the most are like the traumatic ones and the
Yes.
ones that like really shape you to be who you are. So all of those things, I don't remember a lot of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And but what I do remember the most about my childhood is like my parents' divorce and how that impacted me because it kind of like led me to this really astray, like not wanting to go to school, not wanting to eat, not wanting to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that was for like 3 years. So it's a very long time for a child, to like go to court and like
Yeah.
figure out what parent you want to live with and all those things. So
Oh.
that's the stuff that sticks with me the most. And it's so fucked up because
Mm-hmm.
for all the years leading up to that, I had a great childhood. And then the things that stay with me the most are the negative things. Which I think is true for a lot of us. I think that's why a lot of people probably think that like they had like an insane growing up, but it's a lot of it I think has to do with that memory when your brain finally starts to expand
Yep.
and create a personality. Those that age is usually like very dramatic.
Yeah.
So like
Nothing but
7, 8, 9,
transitions.
10, 11, 12, like it's just very like there's a lot going on for you.
Yes.
But yeah, so my upbringing was both great and then the things that have stuck with me have been very like um kind of what has shaped me.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, I like everything that you said. It's so wild whenever people tell me their story, and I relate to it so much because literally
mhm,
I'm like, my dad left when I was 10, and
right.
literally like just like you said, like my childhood before that was like, yes, we didn't have that much money, but literally
But it was yours
I
and
would
it
have
was
never known. Like literally,
yeah,
for me, in my opinion, when it comes to kids, kids literally they just need love and support, and like the rest will train and transition and just help them learn the language of how they're feeling, so that way they can express it. And it was one of those things where like after my dad left, it was such a like immediate shift because our house started to go into foreclosure, and so
mm,
immediately we were then like, where are we going to live? And then on top of it, we lost a whole stream of income. My mom had to start working, all of the things. And it was through all of that that like I can I have such a hard time remembering my memories from before I was 10 because it's literally
yeah,
like, oh, my mind was taken up, like so much of my mental space was taken up with the events occurring with this one thing and everything that
yeah,
succeeded it. And it makes me remember that one, there's more to me than I even remember, and that it's my goal to keep digging at that and to keep discovering
yeah,
all the pieces of myself that I've forgotten. But then on top of it, it reminds me that nothing happens for like a reason. Like trauma and shit doesn't happen for a reason. I don't think it's like it happened to somebody for a reason, but I do believe that it can become in a positive way something that can build you to be something you are. And I like to think that it, like, my dad leaving truly, truly, truly taught me that I am all that I need to survive. Like everything that I need, because the most traumatic thing that I could have
Yeah.
ever imagined happening, which was like one of my parents choosing to leave me, not like dying or anything, like chose to walk out and go to live their life somewhere else, and realizing that, like, oh, I made it through the most traumatic experience I could have ever imagined at 10, and so
Right.
there really isn't a single goddamn other thing that I will allow to stop me from succeeding. And that thought has been the thing that has gotten me out of my house in clothes that made me feel comfortable, that got me
Mm.
wearing skirts, that got me wearing heels, that got me wearing things outside of drag. And this is exactly what the podcast is about. It's about the fact that, like, who we are is something that is it's so diverse, it's so dynamic, and oftentimes we don't get that chance to actually share it or express it with people in, like, in true comfortability and support and acceptance. And I think the bravest thing any motherfucker can do is be true to who they are, because we our lives are couture, our lives are custom, our lives will
Right.
never happen again to anybody else, and it's something to treasure. And yeah, you're just, I'm so thankful that I'm talking to you. And that was my interview with Chiquitita. I am so thankful that you all got to hear the amount of wisdom that that woman has, the amount of lived experience, the amount of lessons that she carries around with her every single day. And she is in your community, and she is as well in our global community, because she is not only just a star, but as well an innovator in her craft. And I'm so, so beyond thankful that I got to sit down and get to know her a bit better, because seeing how our lives overlap and intertwine in so many different capacities is, it makes me so happy in the most beautiful of ways. Because, as well, something that truly resonated and I've been thinking about ever since we spoke was her saying how the memories that we usually hold the tightest are the most traumatic ones. And it caused me to do a bunch of soul searching, because I started thinking about a lot of the memories that I held when I was a little kid. And when I think back, and I realized I had held most tightly to the most traumatic ones. And it was then that helped me honestly get out of my depressive hole, mainly because I began to process the memories and begin to see how me holding on to those memories has affected my behavior as an adult, and how it's affected the way that I move and things that trigger me as an adult. And I didn't, it was, I loved learning that about myself, because I love uncovering the pieces of myself that were just there and dormant, and I just had no idea. And I guess not really dormant, I guess active the whole time. Just I didn't see or smell the smoke. And I'm so thankful for that conversation with Chiquitita. Not only that you all got to hear it, but as well because I got a piece of her wisdom, and that wisdom positively affected my life. The same way I hope that there's some piece of wisdom that she took from our conversation that is really helping her out now on her journey in her life. And so yeah, I'm I'm so thankful for that conversation, and as I reflect, I'm happy. I'm happy that I got to have that conversation with her, especially because I also kind of feel like she's on the precipice of even more greatness in her own life. And I'm so excited to hear about all of her successes. And so, yeah, many blessings on Chiquitita. Many, many blessings. And now, to finish off this episode of Moment of Truth, I would like to just finish with a new segment that I've just created that I'm hoping you all like and vibe with, and I'm hoping that I continue, which is called a Moment to Obsess. I'm going to be going through 5 things that over this past week I've been obsessed with, and tell you a little bit about them, why I'm obsessed with them, and why you need to be obsessed with them, okay? I am always finding a brand new thing, a new article, a new device, a new something, a new series, and I'm always just obsessed with something, and then I move on and be obsessed with something else, and then I'll circle back around, and when the same artist releases another album, I'll obsess again. And honestly, I think that's kind of a deep-rooted thing in queerness, is like the pop culture obsession. Queer people love to obsess the same way we love to obsess over Lady Gaga or any like queer icon. We just love to obsess over something. And so let me obsess over these things, and you can obsess over them too. The first thing is definitely going to have to be Star Trek Discovery. I'm not sure if any of you are into sci fi, but if you are, This is like probably one of my favorite TV shows I've ever watched. It is especially this season that it's really taken off into a new height. It is, of course, Star Trek, so they're going throughout space, having missions, exploring, asking deep humanity questions. But the thing about Star Trek Discovery that's amazing is that it's like very 2020 in terms of the fact that it's not as slow paced as the 80s and the 90s ones. This one is actually like, oh, there are action sequences, and then we are asking deep rooted questions about what does it mean to be family? Do we have obligations to one another as family? What does family mean? What does chosen family mean? And it asks these beautiful, deep questions that just make my heart so happy because it reminds me that these are the questions I was growing up learning and ingrained into me as I was growing up because I love Star Trek. And then on top of it, I'm thinking there's so many generations of people watching the Star Trek now who are learning to ask deeper questions other than the ones society teaches us to ask, which tend to be very superficial just simply because if you keep a superficial society going, usually we just feed into the idea that we need more consumer goods and it ends up being a capitalist mess, aka America. But again, another soapbox. Back to Star Trek Discovery. As well with this season, they have two trans characters, one non binary and one a trans man, and not a single piece of their role has anything to do with their identity, but you do get the beautiful delving into who they are as people, just as characters on this ship. And it makes me so happy to see that the show that I grew up on, that taught me so many of the like loving, kind, understanding ideals that I truly hold closest to me and the ideals that I share through my Instagram and through all my art. That's all stuff that I learned from Star Trek. And to see them incorporating my community more and more into Star Trek makes me so happy because they're doing it in such a compassionate, kind, caring way, and it makes me so happy. It makes me so happy. And I've watched so many interviews with the two cast members because their stories of being on the set and getting to stand in rehearsals and getting to actually read the script and delve deep into it and actually being able to find so much nuance in the script, I was like, it made me emotional because it felt like there's so many people who are in my community who don't have the experience of picking up a script and having it be something that is actually accessible for us. Because so many times we have to shift our lens to try to see it through someone else's viewpoint. And it makes me so happy to see this writing, to see this casting, because mind you, Star Trek did tackle gender as a topic in their 80s Next Generation series. And that also was amazing for the time and still holds up today. I recommend. That's why I love Star Trek. Star Trek is always compassionate, kind, and as well always angling on the side of compassion. Just always on the side of humanity and caring. And it makes me so happy because our society doesn't teach that. Our society teaches you callousness and rugged individualism and all those other stupid white colonial concepts. Social Darwinism and all of that bullshit. But long story short, watch Star Trek Discovery. It is literally on CBS. You can get the free CBS app and like literally get the free trial and everything. And you'll be able to watch it. It's sickening. And also, there's also a Star Trek Lower Decks, which is an animated series from the creators of Rick and Morty. It literally is one of the best animated shows I've ever watched. It sounds like I'm just saying all of the Star Trek is all the best I've ever watched, but there's a reason I'm a Trekkie because it holds up, and my kids will be watching Star Trek when they grow up. Know that. Now, my second thing that I want to tell you about is the fact that Rihanna is going to be releasing a cookbook, and I need us all to cohesively agree that while it is not an album, we do all want to taste whatever Rihanna is cooking. I think we can all agree that we want to hear and we want to see what the bad gal is eating. Now, I want it to come with the album. Tell me that wouldn't be the dopest thing in the world if Rihanna dropped her cookbook and an album at the same time. I would be eating some lemon pepper chicken wings while I am twerking to her beats. That's what I want. But I need us all to go buy the cookbook. I know it's not the album, but we all need to go support our bad gal, okay? We need to go out and support Rihanna, and I'm so excited about it. I'm honestly like, that's the type of thing that makes you want to do like your own cooking series. It's like, let's just go one Rihanna recipe to the next. And so that is the second thing I'm obsessed with. And the third thing is probably my favorite. No, it's not my favorite out this list. Star Trek is the favorite, but it's a close second. So it's second on the list. Rihanna's Cookbook will be third. But this on the favorite list is two. It is Chloe X Halle. Everybody needs to keep streaming Ungodly Hour. We need to pray for the Grammys because we know they are not good to our people. They are not good to us. And so I need us to pray for Chloe X Halle because that album, in my opinion, is one of the best albums that has been released over the past decade. I will stand by that statement because Chloe X Halle with the vocals, the writing, the seamless harmonies, the multiple instrumentations, like they are just they're next level in my opinion. They are going to be the next biggest act in my opinion. Like I can't put into words how shook that album makes me. Every song is fire. There are no skips. And so, long story short, Chloe X Halle, I am obsessed. If they want to send me merch, I would take that shit in a minute. Maybe, watch me. I was about to say, maybe I should invite them on this podcast. And I was about to say, oh, well, no, that's way above my pay grade. And I was like, Junior, you will not limit yourself on this day. We are shooting for the stars, okay? We are literally shooting for the two biggest stars. We are shooting for Chloe X Halle. Watch. I am speaking it into existence. I guarantee you on this podcast, you will see Chloe X Halle as a guest in the future. I can't give you a date, but I can tell you it will be coming. So hold tight for that. But I would like to say thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Moment of Truth podcast. And as this show comes together, I'm so excited for you all to go on the exploration and the journey within our community as we talk to more people. And I get this podcast tighter and tighter and tighter. You know, I was very hesitant about starting a podcast just because I'm not a sound editor. I'm not used to the technological element of putting a podcast together. And so right now I'm just very excited and very happy and thankful for every single one of you for listening, for sharing, for subscribing, because I can say absolutely that I am getting so much joy from creating these, sharing these, and recording these. So just thank you again, and I'll be seeing you all in the next episode where our guest will be the one and the only Sweaty Eddie. So get so excited for that conversation. We went on so many different tangents. You're going to freaking love it. So thank you, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye, beautiful.